Come on, guys. Kind of rainy and crappy out here today. It's been raining like all week, and it's supposed to rain all weekend, so not gonna be able to do much outside, but I got plenty to do in here. LT230 is on all four wheels, so it's definitely a nice thing to be able to wheel around in here. And I got those gear shifter indicator things. I kind of was mentioning them on the other bike, ordering them, and here we are. This thing here is like a homemade bezel thing I made up. It's two solid pieces of plastic that's like a 1/2 inch thick, and there's holes drilled all the way through, and then the top one's countersunk so that you can bolt it on, which, yeah, you see there, it's bolted on to this plate. This plate is part of a sign. I kind of polished it down a little bit. And then the tint that you see around here so that you don't see the front of the display is root beer containers, like 20-ounce root beers. I just cut the side of them out, and then the whole thing is laminated in this vinyl wrap. It looks homemade-ish, but it was the best I could do. And then see if I could change the number on here. Yeah, there's neutral, which is green. Yeah, I think that'll work. And mounted the CDI box up, and I've had a couple comments, guys, here about how low it's mounted. It's waterproof, and I'd rather have it here in case I need to work on it, you know, instead of being hidden up inside the plastics. This bike does not have a really a whole lot of places to mount stuff. The original CDI box, I think, was in here, and you know, I think down here will be just fine. It's not in direct route of stuff coming through, and it'll be easy to work on it later if I need to. These Chinese boxes, not the best. I've had a few of them fail after a while, and for the price you can't complain, but they do go bad, and it would be nice to be able to be easily accessible. Working on rebuilding the engine, and I'm going to post a separate video on that stuff. I will mention one thing about it. Like in the last video I was talking about, I'd like to try to put two of these together, and I bought one engine whole, but I kind of parted some of the things out of it for the pink bike, and my cousin has a 150 version of this engine. And I also found out that both of the ones I have like this is 200s. So the LT230 will get a 200 engine. And more, I went and bought a cover, one of the covers I was missing, in hopes to be able to put two of these together. And more I'm discovering things I'm missing. Like there's there's a gear set that goes in here, a gear set that goes right here, which they're kind of like these. This right here is out of a CB200, Chinese CB200, this is longer. And I found those gears, but then I'm also missing a needle bearing that goes in here. I'm also missing a little brass piece that goes in here with a spring for the sending unit for the gears. Missing that. And the more I got to think about it, I'm just going to leave this one here as a parts engine. The pink bike has a 250 version of this, but everything, well, the crank is not the same, but the clutches and even the gears inside of this, the transmission is the same. So I think I'd just be better off having it as a parts type thing. I had an uncle point out that I have two of these heads, both 200 heads, and he noticed that the valves was seating down in more in this one than the other one, and he, which is a sign of bad, it's something bad. But I think it's just break-in, because I don't know, you go and buy a brand spanking new bike, you have to adjust the valves a couple times on it right away, usually within the first couple tanks of gas, and then it kind of levels off. This engine here, what this came off of, had around 100 hours on it, and I also noticed, I decided to use the other head because they wasn't seating, set down in so much. I kind of noticed with it, which I think the other engine that I got off of eBay didn't have very many hours on it, just by random things. But whenever I was cleaning it in the solvent tank, the other head, I'd dump solvent down into the intake port and it would run out of the valve. So that's, a sign that the valve isn't seating properly, but I think it's just hadn't been broke in. I'm going to try to use a drill to actually try to lap the other head. I'm actually going to, when I take the keepers and stuff off the other side, I'm going to, turn, rapidly turn this with a drill and pull on it and see if it's, where it's not seating. I don't think it has anything to do with bent valves or anything. It's just, crappy machine work. But we'll see how that goes. I think what it is, just the other head isn't broke in. So that's all going to be parts. I guess that's good. Well, all I got for an update with this for right now. A little bit of pinky stuff. Bearings went out of this in the back, and it wasn't in there very long. But I think, it was bad. The whole bike was rocking, and I was worried that the axle, this is one of the axles that I welded and returned to size, and I was worried that my weld didn't hold up. And I pulled it apart, and the bearings was shot. And this bearings wasn't in there very long. I think in midwinter I changed them. But this thing gets dipped in the mud a lot. I don't know. I have been buying cheap bearings, which right here I just replaced these. They're like $14 to your door for 2 bearings, 2 seals. I think maybe they're just, you get what you pay for. So this has the spacers in it because this is an aftermarket carrier. It would have had the double row bearings. So I got my little machine spacers in there to bring this to the right height. But they don't seem to last very long. 50 hours maybe of riding. But like I said, you can tell by the look at this thing, it spends a lot of time in the mud. That's about all there is to do here, is either run around a field or dip it in the mud. Some other things I gotta do to this is the air cleaner had broke off. It lasted 3 years, but one day I noticed that it broke off, and I ordered a new one. And I had a plan to go out riding and everything, somewhere, load them up and ride somewhere. And I ordered a new bearing or a new air cleaner on a Friday from California. Usually it takes about 4 or 5 days. It still wasn't here on the following Saturday to go ride. So we ended up taking this thing out anyways with no air cleaner on it. And now it is very, very hard to push this. So I gotta take the carburetor off and clean it all out. As far as updates on the stator thing, the stator works beautiful. That 3-phase stator works beautiful. The clutch has been working great with the new plates in it. This will be the last summer of this bike. because it's smoking pretty bad. And another thing with having the other engine as parts, I think I might try to replace this transmission when I rebuild this engine, because it's always had an issue between second and third. It gets stuck in between the gears. It's been like that since it was brand new. And whenever it gets stuck in between the two, I mean, it's like, you know, kind of slipping across the gears in between them. So I think that's what I'm going to do with the extra parts. When I do retire this bike at the end of the summer, that bike over there will get these plastics. I'll just peel all this pink stuff off of them. And the seat over there is not even repairable. It's just terrible underneath. It's not fixable. So that bike will get this stuff. And then I'll redo this bike probably throughout the winter. It'll get 400EX front arms, and I'll probably use the arms that I have fitted to use car ball joints on here. Probably brand new plastics, and I have another seat I can reupholster to put on here. And probably what I'll do is put a brand new axle in the back of this, and this will just be extra for the beater bike. The whole rear end in this, probably the swing arm and all, just be extra. But that's about all I got for today. Catch you guys later.